for step 29, attaching the rear arms. Well, essentially we're going to do the same thing that we did when we attached the front arms. So we've got these four arms themselves that look a little different to each other. And we've got these little C9 pieces that we need to pop into those arms just like we did on the front. So I've pulled together all of the little bits. I've pulled together the arms themselves, and we've got our screws right here that we're going to need. Now, what is interesting about this overall is you see these are screws, they're not tapping screws, and when you look at how this goes through, it's going into the plastic, through the arm, and into the other part of the plastic. But they're not threaded. The pieces that these screws are going into are not threaded. So it's kind of an interesting design. You would think they would be tapping screws, but that's the way that it is. Anyways, I'll set this up and let's start the step. So first off, let's pop these things into the arms. So you can see that on the diagram, they're showing you that you need to use the pliers to pop them in. So let's do that. Let's grab this and we'll pop that in. There we go. So there's one again. You can see it's moving around, just gives it a little bit of motion. And we'll do the same thing with the other one. It's kind of a two-step process. You can hear it click, and then you want to be able to click it in a second time. So there's one of them. Grab another one. And see it there. Pop it in. That one actually went in without doing a double click. Same again with this one. That one went in without a double click as well. So those two arms are done. Now the one other thing I should point out here too, and I know we did this in the previous step, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it, but where this comes off the parts tree, do make sure that you clean this up. Because obviously this needs to be able to move around inside these arms. So if you've left any sort of the plastic burbs on it, it's not going to run smoothly inside these arms. There we go. Another one. Put another one in. Well, those ones seem to be going in with just the one pop. And same again. Down to the last two here. That one went in pretty easy. And then this one. Same again. There we go. So all of those little bits are inside those arms, so you can see that's providing movement, keeps them free and not binding anywhere. So now, if we grab our axle, so I'm just looking at what's going on here with the axle. You can see a little bit of this, the joint is hiding there. So we know that this is the way that we want it, and you can see that the ball connector is facing out, so we know that too. So if we were to grab one of the arms, you can see that the sort of this ribbed section here is facing away from the axle, so we know that that has to fit inside of there. And you'll notice it's almost too tight. You've got to be able to squish it in to be able to put that into that spot. So again, with this, what I've discovered with the previous one is that these have to be screwed into the outside as well. So it's not like you slide this through the hole and then it will catch on the other side. You're literally screwing these into the hole right from the start. So we just got to make sure that it's going to go in properly, which looks correct. So I'll continue screwing this in. And we've got to make sure that it's going to come out on the other side in the correct place. Looks maybe okay. So let's just continue screwing this in. And it's interesting because the screw itself goes in quite smooth. Like, it doesn't feel like it's grabbing on anything almost. And you see there? See how it's already starting to push, which means the alignment isn't quite right? So I'm going to have to back this out. And we've got to make sure that it's going into the right place. Which it is now. You can start to see that it's coming through. So we'll screw this in. Now it says do not over tighten. So I can already tell that from that last turn, it's pretty much at the end. So I am not going to twist this anymore because it's already out on the other side and they're telling you don't over tighten. So this is now free. So that one is done. So now we need to do the other side. So same idea. We're going to grab the other arm. We're going to push it inside of here because it's got to go on either side. Squeeze it in, and then we'll grab the screw. In fact, start it with your screwdriver. And I've got to make sure that that hole is visible and in the right spot. There we go. And now we can start screwing that in. And if you've got it going in the right way, it actually you can feel it. Now you see how that isn't quite right? It's slightly, the angle's slightly wrong. So I'm just going to back this off. And you can see I can sort of manipulate it a little bit. So I want to make sure that it's going through the right way. And again, on this side, we're going to want to make sure that that hole is lined up correctly. So I'll just continue screwing this in. Because so far it looks like it's working out okay. And I'm checking again. It seems okay. Now you can sort of start to see it in there. So it's looking like it's going in correct. Even more so, you can see it coming through the other end. So it seems like I've got this one correct right off the bat. I didn't need to do much of an adjustment. Yep. So we'll just screw this all the way in. But again, as soon as I reach the end point, I am not over tightening it. I'm leaving it there. And you can see that it's right. Oh, I could probably screw it in just a little bit more. But I won't over tighten. But you see how the screw is to the other side now? But it's not tightened, it's not super tight. And these are completely free. So that's worked out. So those are on. So we've done the first two arms. Now we've got to flip it over, and you can see, and this is the best one to look at for this, you can see that the arm itself needs to be like that, where it's going out and then down, out and then down, and this now is going to fit in between here, which this one requires a little bit more pressure by the looks of it. There we go. And make sure that the hole is correct. And again, same idea. We're going to grab our screw and we're going to screw this in. And again, interesting design that you actually screw it into the outer plastic. It doesn't just go through and then it tightens on the other side. It's all the way through that this is working. And it's interesting the way that's done. But you see how the angle, I think, is going to be wrong. So I'm going to pull this back out because it needs to be a lot more level than that. So I'll back this off. Just make sure that that sits properly. Actually, let's just make sure that's going through. There we go. That's more correct. And just make sure that it's coming through the other side. Which I think it is. So you can see that it's coming through the other side, right down there. And I'm pretty much at the end point. And you can see that it's right there, pretty much level with the end. I might do one more push there. But there you go. There is the arm. So I'm just going to do the other one because you get the idea. And then I'll come back. So there we go. I've got all four of them attached, and I've pretty much taken the screw right to the point where it's just at the end. So that basically means that I can visually see where I want to tighten this to without over tightening, and I've pretty much done that on all sides. So when you're finished step 29, this is what it should look like. You should be able to push apart the rounded suspension pieces, pull together the square style pieces, and it should look like that in terms of a type of crab picture. But if it doesn't, then there's a possibility that the pivot points were put on wrong in the last step, and you'll need to revert back to 28 to make sure that they've gone on properly. So that's how it should look before moving on. If it does, great. If not, revert to the last step. Anyways, we will move on now to step 30, which is attaching propeller shaft B.